Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
Hey sister, this is Dr. Karen Osborne. Listen, I'm going to talk to you for 30 seconds before this episode begins about my next Women Wanting More live event. This is 2.5 days of women just like you being pushed physically, mentally, emotionally, getting really clear on what they want, knowing why it matters, and leave with the tools to actually put that into action and being part of a sisterhood. So if this is something that really, really resonates within your heart, sister, I want you to head over to drkarenosborne.com, click on the Work With Me button, and we can start the application process. I look forward to hearing from you. Here's that episode. So, sister, you never really know people's stories. And listen, everybody has a story. And everybody has had multiple things that have happened within their life. Some stuff that may even make your skin crawl that you're not even aware of. Everybody has a story, and it is so easy for us to judge from the outside. So easy. So today, my son Tyson had our little buddies a play date, and I just really haven't been one to socialize with the other moms. I've just felt like I'm just an odd duck when it comes to the moms. I'm way older than pretty much all of them. We adopted our sons. I don't feel like I kind of belong, nor is the life of everything's all in for my children. That's just not really me. And if that's who some other, women are as mothers, like cool. But I just never really felt like I've connected with a lot of other moms. And so, now with Tyson wanting to have friends and that kind of thing, he's just turned 6 recently. I just really have to be opened up to that. And he keeps saying I want to have his little buddy over for a play date. So spoke to the mom, we emailed, and they were over today and they had a ton of fun. It was crazy. 3 boys, because with, my 2 and then his little buddy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so good. We've only had 2. Holy shit. Dogs barking. Yeah. It was fun though. It was fun. And one thing the mom said to me when she came over was how she had, so let me just kind of backtrack a little bit. Normally at the time that this little guy was being dropped off to play with my oldest boy, Tyson, they would go see his grandfather, okay, which is her father-in-law. And as she shared with me today, he's in, probably some kind of a nursing home or hospital. He has dementia. And so depending on the week, he may not remember who they are. But she said when she came to the door, we're chatting for a moment. She's like, well, I've curled my hair today. It was cute. It's almost like she's kind of explaining why her hair looks different. I'm thinking it doesn't matter to me. Do whatever you want with your hair, sweetheart, right? But she goes, well, the reason that I'm doing this is because that's how he remembers me. Because I used to curl my hair like this. So he remembers me like this. It helps. It's a thing I can, basically she's saying, it's what I can do to help him better remember who I am on the days where he still has those memories, right? That he can actually is having what she would call the good days and remembers who she is and who their family is. And, it's interesting because I can so easily judge, like we all can, right? Again, have judged a lot of the other moms and just been like, oh, they're not like me. And, just everything's all about their children. And, that's just not who I am. That's just not who I am. And so kind of already kind of put up the wall and said this would never work and I don't have time. And she shared that with me today. And I was just I was touched. And I reflected on it. And I was again, just like I just said, it is so easy to judge, to see just the outside of somebody and not really know their story, right? Another friend of my husband and I, actually a friend, Mark, that Ed met at Warrior when he first went to Warrior Week, which is what Garrett J. White runs, when Ed went in July of 2015. So almost a year and a half ago. It's crazy because her life has changed exponentially because of that. So mad props to Garrett because he completely changed her life and was the inspiration for this podcast as well too. But Ed met Mark there. And so we've still stayed connected online. Mark's actually being coached by my husband, Ed, now. He's launched a podcast. He's got a book coming out. Like, he's just an amazing guy. And he has a lot of things to share that have been very, very deep. But he shared something today in a Facebook post about how he was molested at the age of 6 and then at the age of 10. And the shame and the guilt that he was told, that he felt, confusion, how he was told like to not talk to anyone about it, and just a lot of stuff that he carried and how that really affected him into an adult. And he's 56 now. And has kind of just more recently realized all the behaviors and patterns and self-sabotage and the ways that he would numb and, sabotaging a business, that these were all kind of started from that. And what was number one, this, again, you don't know everybody's story, right? Everybody has a story. You might see Mark and be like, he's run a bunch of martial arts schools. He has a disabled son. He's a sweet man, but I think maybe at a time in his life that I didn't know him, he had that really rough and tough exterior, right? And maybe used a lot of different things to numb in his life. And you could so easily judge somebody like that. Like, oh, what an asshole if he's drinking, using drugs, or he's, numbing and escaping with sex. Like, what a jerk, right? It would be so easy to judge without knowing Mark's story. And I honor Mark so much because the courage to post that as a man or woman, but I think particularly as a man, the rawness and just just realness. I mean, I so gravitate towards people who are real. And so even with today, with Tyson's friend's mom, that I just wasn't open to hearing anything before, right? Not that we were standing around the playground and she's like, hey, let me tell him about my dad, or let me tell him about the challenges of my life. I just had put that wall up. And I forgot that everybody has a story, My husband Ed today posted a picture of when he was in the hospital. My husband Ed has Crohn's disease. And this would have been, let me think, about 5.5 years ago, because our oldest boy, Tyson, was only about 7 months old when he was in the hospital. So he was diagnosed, and it was about a year later that Ed had a serious blockage in his colon, and he had to go in for emergency surgery. And so we had to check him into the hospital on, I think it was like a Tuesday. It was after a long weekend in May. And he basically had to wait. Like, it was an emergency, but it wasn't like he was going to die tomorrow if he didn't have the surgery. But it was definitely going to be if we don't get this, if you don't have the surgery, you will die, in the next couple weeks, month. But it wasn't, this sounds crazy even like saying it this way now. It wasn't as urgent as like, we have to do it immediately. And so he was, on the list to go into surgery. But each day, depending on the cases that were coming in, he might have gotten bumped. And so it started on Tuesday, and then he basically had to fast, right? If you're going in for surgery, you can't eat like anything. There's even so many hours before you can't even have water, because it means then when you're given the anesthetic, like you could throw up. And so everything has to be, especially for Ed with colon stuff, has to be out of his system. And so every day would kind of be the same thing. And he didn't actually go into, so we got him into the hospital on Tuesday. He didn't go into surgery until Saturday. So, Ed posts his pictures in a hospital gown. So just kind of got weaker and weaker. With how sick he was feeling, but with even not being able to eat enough water and stuff like that for periods of time. And so he posted this picture of him, and I think he's holding Tyson in the picture. And, people will see my husband now and they'll hear him talk about Crohn's and what he deals with each day. But people don't really know his story, right? We don't know the story. So there's two pieces to this. Number one, people won't know our story and be able to understand us, sister, if we don't actually share that. Now, you don't have to be as real and raw as Mark was in his Facebook post or my husband today, right? But people will never know who we are if we don't share with them what we've been through. And you can do this in any form that you want. It could be something that maybe you've been hiding, you felt very shameful about, you felt guilty, you felt badly, and you share that with a close friend, right? It could be that you do something as bold as you post it, right? I've shared a lot of stuff here on this podcast. Lots of stuff. challenges I've had with my marriage in the past, parenting, business. We went through a bankruptcy several years ago. And, when I share those things, and when I see people share these, I think in a way that's like a really healthy way, is there's always a lesson at that, right? There's always something that when I share this, and I think I don't even want to say the right or the best way, but the best way to really share stuff is if you can, share a lesson from that. If you're just like so deep into the experience still, and, it's not like you can't express anger and all that kind of stuff, but I think when you actually sit down to like talk to people about this, like there's been some thought, right? There's been some things that you've maybe worked through at that point. But people won't know what we've been through unless we tell them. And like, it's scary, right? Like, it's really fucking scary because like, oh my God, what if people judge me? Well, newsflash, they're going to judge you anyways. People will judge you. As Byron Katie would say, it's our job to judge. It's what we do. We judge. But they will never know your story unless you tell people. The story that I ran for years and like literally decades was that nobody understands me. Nobody gets me. And hell yeah, that was true because I put up the biggest fucking walls. I don't want to share anything with anybody because I had done that before and I'd gotten a lot of rejection, a lot of like, you're too much, Karen, and you're too intense. I was like, oh, I better hold back. Let me just build that big fucking wall, like Fort Knox wall. Nobody gets me. No shit. Of course, people didn't know my story because I didn't share it. And here's what's the most significant thing. When I spoke at my husband's live event, it's called TCP Live Event, for his clients, and my husband is a business coach, and I spoke on how to make transparency your superpower. Majority of those people in the room were chiropractors, and especially with professionals, health professionals, even more so, they're very afraid to expose who they are. They're very afraid to share the struggles they have because they feel the story that they have is, well, I'm an authority and people look up to me, so I can't show that side of me because if I do, people will think less of me. They won't respect me the same way. And let me tell you something. My last 3 years in practice, 4 years, that's when I started doing like written blogs, video blogs. My last podcast, Moment 41, like I started to share some really raw stuff. And my conversations with my patients, they got real. It wasn't about just, let's just talk chiropractic, let's talk about your health. Like it was deep conversations. And a lot of it was spurred from what I started to share, right? Particularly online. And those last 3 to 4 years of my 14 years in our practice were some of the deepest and most connection I've ever felt with our patients. So see, we think often that if I share this, that people will judge me, which yes, again, they will. But let me tell you something. The majority of people, when you share at that level, they will respect you like nobody's business. They'll look up to you. You will inspire them. See, when you share things about yourself and really open up and share your story, it gives others permission to do the same, sister. Like, that's fucking huge. You just showing up as you have a chance to actually transform someone else's life by sharing who you are. Because everybody has a story. So here is your more tip for today's sister. What is the story that you've been wanting to share? Or that is something that's just spinning you around in circles? Something that happened to you recently, decades ago, from when you were a little kid, like Mark? What is the thing that's it's still weighing on you? Right? You feel like it's almost like it's a secret that you don't want anybody to ever know about you. What is that? So here's 2 things that you can do. Number 1, find someone to share that with. So that sharing with can be your Facebook community, right? It could be that way. It could be a close friend. It could be you tell your husband. You tell someone that's just really, really close to you that you feel safe with. And you unload some of that. Or if that's something that's still kind of scary for you, journal it. Like write it all down. Start sorting through this stuff. We all have a story. And I think that some of the greatest tragedies, challenges, problems, traumas in our life, we can actually choose to make these incredible gifts. I heard Robin Sharma say at the Archangel Summit, an incredible seminar that my husband and I went to in September of this year. Robin Sharma, best-selling author of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari and all sorts of other books, and world-class speaker and just incredible human, said you can choose to be a victim or a leader, but you can't be both. So see, sister, you can use your story to really inspire and lead, or you can use your story to keep spinning the victim story. The victim hat. Put that one on for size. Either way is good, sister. But which one gets you closer to what you want? So either share that thing up with someone close to you that you trust, or journal that down and see what insight really comes from that. Or send me an email, drkaren@drkarenosborne.com. You can also message me on Facebook and share it with me. I'm a good listener. If you just want to share that, cool. If you want feedback, cool. But either way, sister, if you don't feel like you have someone to share this with, I will be here for you. And what I want you to do right now is I want you to head over to drkarenosborne.com and make sure to subscribe to the Women Wanting More newsletter. In addition, I'm actually going to give you the link as well, too, for the live event. This will actually be in the show notes. So I had my first Women Wanting More live event in October. Let's see, it was about 7 weeks ago from when I'm recording this episode right now. Unbelievable 2.5 days of women really getting clear on what they want, why it matters, and then left with tools, practical ways to actually make that happen, like an action map to get there. And at the other end of the 2.5 days of being pushed physically, mentally, emotionally, all of them now understand what it's like to live their life from a place of power. So, sister, if this resonates with you, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you've been hearing me talk about the live event in every single episode. Like, this is something that could transform your life if that's what you want. Currently, for my next live event, there's 4 spots that are left. These are very small. There's only 6 women. This is not for every woman. But it might just be for you, sister. So the link you'll see in the show notes, click on the link, and we can begin that process, which is an application. So, sister, I will talk to the next episode. A life of more is just one step away from you doing the fucking work every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosborne.com/newsletter.